All right, everyone. Welcome to OER in roughly 30 minutes here at, I'm sorry, not Boulder County campus, Front Range. Brought to you by, I still have Boulder County campus on the brain. I am so sorry about that. Welcome to OER in roughly 30 minutes, brought to you by the librarians here at Front Range Community College. Next slide, please.
Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, and we have another person. Hi. Sorry, I'm just so happy to see people. I can't help it.
I know.
All right.
I know. All right. I am Victoria West-Pawl. I'm the library director for the Westminster campus.
Hi, my name is Gant. I'm the campus librarian at Boulder County campus.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Molly.
Sorry. Yeah, so my name is Molly Thompson. I am the senior librarian at the Larimer campus. And I mentioned this just a second ago, but I think some more people came in afterwards. I do have a Google form that I'm going to put it in the chat again. So if you are a part-time instructor, you can get paid for this time. You just need to put your name and S number in there. So I'll send it again just to make sure everybody gets it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so we have an agenda for today. We'll talk about what is OER. We'll discuss the importance of OER for faculty and students. We'll talk about Creative Commons, open access, the 5 R's, OER Commons, and where to find OER content. So, what is OER? OER refers to the educational materials, including handouts, textbooks, and complete courses. OER brings flexibility that isn't found with traditional educational resources. OER uses open copyright licenses like Creative Commons, which we'll discuss in a little while. Next slide, please.
Trying.
Oh, no, it's okay. Sorry.
For some reason, it kind of switches around on me. All right.
All right. So why OER, you may ask yourself? Well, a couple of reasons. Saves costs for students. OER can offer drastic savings in the cost of education overall. Another reason is grants access to more quality choices. There are more than 1,000 free online courses from leading universities that are open to the public. Students in low resource environments can enjoy the recorded lectures and video tutorials developed by other institutions. Another reason is that it helps prior learning and after learning. And by this, if an instructor opens his or her own course materials and shares them with the public, it greatly enhances opportunities for learning for both students who already took the course and prospective students. It also provides a peace of mind for all users. OERs are free at the point of use, so you will not need to provide monetary compensation to use them. No money. And some other benefits. Enhances a school's reputation, as well as that of teacher and researcher. And social responsibility because it provides education for all. So here's a graph for the impact of costs on textbooks for students. And as you can see, it hit a peak in the school year for 2008 and 2009. It came down a little bit 2 years ago during the 2009-2020 school year, and we do not have any stats current than that, but I am interested to see what they look like. I imagine it would be somewhere along the same lines because the cost of these items haven't really gone down over time. And here's a comparison chart. So the top slide is from Vital Source. Vital Source is a platform where students and instructors can purchase materials, including textbooks. So you can see I selected the 90 days, which is roughly a semester. and it is at $40 for the semester. And the slide below is a price of Netflix, which almost all of us have because Netflix. But as you can see, the cost of Netflix is significantly cheaper. So just a bit compare and contrast between prices of items that people use and that the price of items that people really use. So the importance of OER for faculty and students. And there are these are just some additional benefits. Students have access to content immediately. So no waiting to order a book or order content and then waiting for it to come in and then trying to find somewhere to access that content. It is available right away. Faculty can freely share knowledge and ideas. Students and faculty can freely download, edit, and share materials. OER provides flexibility for both students and faculty, and they can engage in the 5 R's with the materials. And we'll discuss the 5 R's in just a little while. A great bonus to this is that students can keep a copy of the resource forever, which is a real bonus, and it doesn't take up all that space. Faculty can update content and fix errors. And we had a discussion during our introduction to OER this morning where an instructor here at Boulder, or not at Boulder County Campus, I still have Boulder County Campus on the brain. It just will not leave me. An instructor said that she would give extra credit to her students that could find errors within her OER content. So just a little wink and nod to you all out there. And students can improve the resources for the class they are taking by looking at the content and looking for those errors and helping the instructor improve on those errors. Next slide, please.
Okay. I'm going to talk about Creative Commons and how that's used. So in 2002, Creative Commons, which is a nonprofit organization, was created with the goal of making creative works more freely and available by creating free legal tools. And so I put the link on the bottom of the screen there, creativecommons.org, and you will find a plethora of material about Creative Commons and the license that you can use or look for, and the types, all the different types of license there are. The Creative Commons licenses lets creators easily change the copyright terms from the default of all rights reserved to some rights reserved. So the Creative Commons license is not an alternative to copyright. They work alongside copyright, enable you to modify these copyright terms to the best suit your needs. The Creative Commons also has collaborated with intellectual property experts around the world to ensure that the license work globally. So you can see that there are quite a few Creative Commons license listed here and to choose from. So I'm going to briefly go through them so you know what each of them mean. But you can also go to the website that I put in the blue bar there, or the blue box, that give a little bit more detail. So the first one is attribution. And this one means that the credit must be given to the creator. And this is in the middle column at the top there. The second one down is adds another aspect to the license. So now it's attribution, which is the giving credit to the creator, and then share alike. So you must license the modified material under the identical terms of the author. The third one down is now a little different. It's attribution and non-commercial. So only non-commercial uses are permitted with this particular license. If you look over on the third column on the right at the top there, we have the attribution non-commercial and share alike. So this one's just a little different combination of the different types of license. The one below is a little different. It's attributions, no derivatives. And this just means there cannot be any adaptations, or you can't modify the work. Those are not permitted. And then the last one is attribution, non-commercial, and non-derivatives. So these are some of the Creative Commons license. These are the Creative Commons license that you could choose from. You also can choose to use public domain material as well. And I'm going to talk about that in just a bit. But first, I wanted to mention that on the Creative Commons website, like I was telling you, there is a plethora of information. And one of the things that you can use here is the license chooser. So it's going to ask you, have a series of questions. So you can see number 1, and then barely you can see number 2, and it goes on to ask a few more questions. By the end, it will recommend what type of Creative Commons license you should use for your material. So this is something you definitely should look into when you are creating your own materials. And again, there is the website that you can go to, and you can click around and just find it on the creativecommons.org. But this is under chooser.beta. They're working on that, and you can and see how it works for you. All right, as I mentioned before, you can also use public domain information and material. The public domain information, this is just another option. So you can create your material using public domain, and you would use this, no copyright, or you can use materials that are in the public domain for your courses. These works are not restricted by copyright, and people are welcome to adapt, copy, and reuse the works in public domain. So for example, the works that are entered in the public domain when the creator's copyright expires, which is usually 70 years after the creator's death, for example, that would be like the novel, The Great Gatsby, which will enter the public domain at the end of 2020. Open access materials are free for you to use, but unless they have a Creative Commons license, you can't change the materials. So you can go on to Google Scholar or Directory of Open Access Journals, and you can find articles or images that are open access, but unless it has the Creative Commons license, and depending on which license, you won't be able to modify that article or that material unless it has the Creative Commons. So just because it says open access doesn't actually mean that it's Creative Commons, or that you're free to modify that work. So if you are citing a Creative Commons source, there is a specific way to cite that, and it's very similar, but there are some different ways. I found that not everybody cites this the same, but according to Mississippi State Universities, you need to have the following. So underneath the image of the chocolate chip cookies, you need to have the title. Make sure you put the title of the image or the material in quotation marks. You need to have the author, and in this case, the author's first name is first and then the last name. Make sure that you hyperlink the author's name to the author's page, the source, and that you need to hyperlink to the original source. And then you have to have the license, which is CC Creative Commons by, which is the attribution 2.0. So you can see the citation, that's quotations, perfect chocolate chip cookies, quotation, in quotations, by the author, which is linked, CC by 2.0. So if you need to cite one of the sources, when you're using this information in your courses, this is how you would cite it. And if you have any questions, of course, you can ask any of the librarians and we can help you with that as well. And then as Shay was talking about earlier, the 5 R's of OER, this is a great way to remember what OERs are all about. And that is that you can retain, which is make, own, or produce copies of the materials. You can reuse, use content in different manners, such as study groups, class, websites, blogs, etc. You can revise the material, which is to adapt or modify the content. For example, you can change or delete a paragraph of or a page of a textbook. You can also remix the materials, so you can combine original content with other content to create something new. So for an example, you can combine 2 psychology textbooks, and you can redistribute, freely share copies of the original, revision, remixes with your class, colleagues, and others.
Okay. So before I start on where to find OER materials and open access materials, I did want to go back to the different kinds of licenses, the Creative Commons licenses. The one that has, let's see, the equal sign, which I could never figure out what that was at first, the no derivatives.
Right.
So that would not be considered OER. So if you're creating OER, people have to be able to have the chance to change it and pretty much do the 5 R's. So I just wanted to point that out, that that is not, it's a Creative Commons license and one that you could use, but it wouldn't be considered OER. So yeah, have that.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're welcome. And then as Shay was talking about reasons to use OER for your classes, I was thinking last week, my son, I went to Montana State, so he's a freshman there. And I don't hear from him that often, so it's always kind of exciting when I hear from him. But it's usually like about, something financial. And last week he texted me and he's like, why do I have this $75 charge on my account? And I'm like, well, I have no idea. But he paid, his tuition and his housing like in August, and that was a big deal because it's a lot of money. And so we thought he had like a 0 balance. So I'm like, well, you need to call him and find out what the $75 charge is for. And then he looked at his account and he's like, well, I know what it's for. It's for fees. And I'm like, well, they need to be a little bit more specific. It's probably legitimate, but find out what it's for. So he finally, I guess he called, which was good for him. It was a big step. He called and found out it was for his math textbook that he bought like in August, and for some reason it came through now. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of disappointing because once you think you're done paying for the semester, it's nice to be done. And he's like, yeah, and it's really disappointing because I never used it at all. So, and I think we can all relate to having textbooks in college that we paid for.
That's common.
So it's too bad that his math instructor didn't have OER. Anyway, so that was just my little story. And then let's see, can you go back to that slide? So I'm going to talk a little bit about where you can find OER. And I have a handout too that has a bunch of different sites, and it looks like this. So it has links to them. And I'm going to put that in the chat. So if you are interested in that, you can check out some of those different sites. And there's so many of them. So when you're starting your OER, and I know Peter was talking about places where he wanted to share the materials that he created, these could be some great places to share your materials as well, because there's many, many different ones, and a lot of them overlap. So you'll find a lot of the same materials on the different repositories. So this is a start as far as lists go. And so I have repositories and open access, and then there's also some different places where you can find images for your OER as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of the PowerPoint. Let's see, this will stop, okay. Others. And I'm gonna see if I can go to the internet. And
Do I need to do that?
Nope, I think, can you see the CC search page? Is that, okay, I see some nodding. Okay, so when you are creating OER, I've talked to a lot of instructors who have mentioned that, I mean, it's definitely difficult coming up with the content and finding the content or adapting other people's content, but trying to find images for your OER can be kind of difficult because, you know, there's so many different images on the internet and a lot of them would work really well and would be perfect. But as we know, we can't just copy random images and then put them into our OER because of copyright issues. So there's lots of places where you can find images that have a Creative Commons license. So they tell you how you can use the image, or maybe they might be in the public domain and then you don't have to worry about it. So this is just one of those sites where you can find some free images. So if I was looking for early childhood education, I could search for that. And then Victoria talked about the licenses on the left. So if I just wanted to search for images in the public domain, I could do that. What would be the advantage of just using an image from the public domain? Can anybody add that?
You have to quote it, or
you don't have to quote it. Yeah, so you don't have to put an attribution. So if it is in the public domain, you don't have to put anything. It's nice if you do give the person credit, but you don't have to do that. So that can be an advantage to using an image in the public domain. And then if you go through these different Creative Commons licenses that Victoria talked about, we start off with the least restrictive one, which is just giving the creator credit. And that's really all you have to do. And then as we go down, they get a little bit more restrictive with the type of license and how you can or cannot use them. But the great thing about Creative Commons licenses is, you know, by the license, what you can do with it. Okay, so I'm looking for early childhood education. I have different images here. And if I just put my mouse on it, I can see what kind of license it has. So it just has the attribution license. I just need to give the creator credit if I do want to use this one. So if I click on it, there it is. And it's pretty easy to copy and paste it. But what I love about this particular site is we're talking about attributions. So all I have to do is copy this and I can paste it under the image and then I have it for my OER. So it's very easy. And another thing I want to point out about the attribution, like all of us librarians, we have different classes come to the library and the students, you know, need to do an MLA citation or an APA citation. And it's pretty exact on how you're supposed to do it. And this is usually like the gold standard of attributions, but it's not quite like doing an MLA or APA citation. It doesn't have to be exactly correct, or just as long as you make sure you make an effort of giving the creator credit, you're doing pretty well. So that is CC Search. So that's a great place for images. And I have, again, on that handout, some other ones. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch to this one, the Library of Congress. And they have all kinds of materials that are free to use and reuse. And images, great place to go for images, but you can also find books, newspapers, manuscripts, prints, photos. So I think this would be a really fun place to kind of dig around and see what you can find and what you can use. And everything on the site, these are free. They're in the public domain for the most part, or they do not have copyright. So you don't have to, again, you don't have to worry about the attribution or copyright issues. And then if I was interested in lighthouses, I could look at the lighthouses, and they'll sometimes give you a little bit more information about the image if you want it. So you can scroll down and find that. But otherwise, they're pretty easy to use, copy and paste into your OER. And then you can search specifically up here. And if you want to narrow it down to like newspapers, periodicals, or so forth, you can do that. So that's another one. And then we have OER Commons. This is great for all kinds of different materials that you might need for your classes. And so I think, especially if you're starting out with OER, you want to make sure that you're not reinventing the wheel. There might be some other resources out there that could work for your class, and you probably will have to tweak them somewhat, but at least it's a nice kind of starting point. So you can look there. So if I was going to look for chemistry, I could do that. And then they have education level. So I could drill down and try to be a little bit more specific and go to community college, lower division, and search and see what I get. And then again, on the left, you can drill down. They have like material types. So maybe you're just interested in like assessments or labs. You can find that homework assignments, games. So it can get pretty specific on the type of material. So it's not just textbooks on the site. So if I was looking at this chemistry one, I can go to view research. Resource. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back 1 second. Under the description, you can get an overview of it. And then you can see the license right there. So again, this is the least restrictive license, the Creative Commons attribution. All you have to do is give the creators credit. There's a lot of authors here, so there's lots of people to give credit, but that's what you need to do. And then Victoria, I think you had a template, right?
Yes, and I will put that on the LibGuide. I have a template that where you can fill out the information, and I didn't make that into a website. I'm sorry, with a link.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So we'll have
so
that.
we'll get that on the website, but it's a template that you can fill in from with all the different resources that you find, so that you can keep track of what the license is and who the authors are and the time and the year. So you could keep track of all that when you're referencing the material.
Yeah, and I think that's a great practice, because if you're going through different resources for OER and you're using like a page from this one and a page from that one, it's hard at the end when you're dealing with making sure you're giving people credit to remember where you got everything. So I think that template would be very helpful. So there's the description. And then again, I'm going to go back to this. You can view the resource and then see, in the table of contents, they have the summary. So if I was going to go to chapter 1.3, could take a look at that. I just wanted to show you this page because here they have some nice images to go along with their text, because you want to make it interesting for your students. And Wikimedia is also a great place to get images that have Creative Commons licenses. So again, they're telling you what it is, but then you can also see where they got it from, and they're giving the creator credit too. It's Flickr's good too.
Can you go back to the first page? I mean, to the home page of that one? The nice thing that I really like about OpenStax is that it also gives review of the book by other faculty. and you get to see, you know, the year that they wrote that review and what they had to say about it. So it's a nice way to find out if this is a good resource to use for your particular class.
Right, yeah, and they do. And some of them have, I think it was this one maybe that had, or maybe it's the next one, it's the Open Text Library. Some of them have reviews and some of them don't, but yeah, like you can see this.
Oh
one
yeah, I think it was
does.
Open Textbook Library, not the other
Yeah,
one.
okay. Yeah, and we're getting there. So, but there are some reviews here too. All right, so there's that one. And then we have the Open Textbook Library, and that one has reviews from faculty.
Yeah.
I think it's like 65%. I was reading that today, have reviews. So right now they have 952 textbooks. So this one is geared towards textbooks. And so if you're into math, you can figure that out. 65% of 952. How many have reviews? And for this one, again, you can browse by subject. I'm going to go down to education. I'm going to keep, oh, no, I'm not. Let's see. It's hard with this. Okay, well, we'll take a look at that one. So that one has, this is one of the ones that is not part of the 65%. There we go. If I go to early childhood education, this one has 2 reviews. A lot of them do not have really in-depth reviews, but there are reviews. So you can take a look at those. So there you are. So they're rating them and they have the review and you can read more. But again, they have the attribution and you have to share it in the same way with the same type of license if you use their work. Okay, so this is a great one to start with as well. I think the Open Textbook Library. And then the last resource I want to show you. And I'm sorry, we're over our 30 minutes. And if you have to go, we totally understand. So this is the last one. This was new to me, and maybe this is something you already know, but if you want to get videos from YouTube that have a Creative Commons license, you can search, like if I was looking for videos on drawing for beginners, I didn't realize this filters here, and you can go to Creative Commons, and then you can get videos that have Creative Commons licenses that are free to use, and some of them you could remix. And then I think a lot of them have information below where you can see the license under, I think under show more. We'll show you the license. Yeah, so here, this one has a Creative Commons attribution license, reuse allowed. So you need to give them credit, but I thought that's kind of nice, and that's nice for numerous reasons. So if you have an online class and you're showing a video, you don't have to worry about copyright issues with Creative Commons licenses on the video. So that's an option in YouTube. And we are over our 30 minutes. So if anybody has questions, you are welcome to turn on your microphone so you can just ask the question, or if you prefer, you can ask it in the chat.
Well, we did say roughly, so
yeah, we did.
So I think we have a little bit of, we gave ourselves a little
We're 5
wiggle
minutes
room.
over, roughly. Oh, and I think the most important part is, as you are creating OER, hopefully you are, your librarians at each campus are happy to help you. So please reach out to us. You can email us, call us, and we're happy to help.
Hi, I have a question. I teach in the early childhood area, so thank you for using that example. So is it possible that the textbook I was using might be in an open text environment, or probably not? I looked at that link that you just gave, and I typed in infant toddler theory, but it didn't come up, but it looked like I need to pare it down a little bit.
Okay. I'm guessing it's probably doesn't have a Creative Commons license. Is it?
I mean, I have it. Would it say like on the front if it has it, or you can't? How would you know if it has that Creative Commons?
Usually it will say inside of it. I mean, does it have like copyright?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then it's not Creative Commons. And if it's
okay,
and if it's published by a publisher, they're obviously not going to want to have a
here's
Creative Commons license because they're going to lose a lot of money that way.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah. So that is too bad.
Okay. So yeah, I haven't looked at any of the other resources to see where I'm going with it, but I might be calling on one of you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of
please.
early childhood education.
Is there?
Textbooks, yeah. And I think there was a group who was working on it last year too.
Yeah, Myrnie, I think, has been working on it, and I know she's on Westminster campus, but.
And Jane, this is where I'll gloat a little bit. My background is in early childhood education. So I'd be more than happy, or not more than happy. I'll be more than happy to help you.
I will definitely take you up on that.
Search for content because there's plenty out there.
Thank you, because I do it really part-time and I haven't had time to work on it at all. I work full-time for public health, child health promotion. And as you can imagine, it's been more than full-time the last few years.
No worries. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will call on you.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for that question. Any others?
I have one. So Shay knows me.
Hey.
Yeah. So I work for Disability Support Services. Peggy Copeland, people like that. In the helping instructors find OER materials, are we looking at any sort of like alternative text formats or things like that? Because I know with a lot of the Creative Commons stuff, we have to go to the publisher or whatnot to get permission to adjust the text for screen readers or put alt text into images and things like that too. So is it in looking at OER options, is there any consideration being given towards, things that are already set up that way versus things that, where then I get a email with a PDF going, help, this isn't working right. So I go through it and fixed all the text up and make it readable. So I was actually curious if that was a consideration.
Yeah, that is, that's a very good question. And I took a class this summer where seems like we have covered this before. So I'll look into that, or we all were. I don't know if Victoria or Shay, if you have anything else to add, but I do remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure specifically. I know that a lot of material is in the PDF format, so that can be put into a reader. But I'm not sure about I know some of them have different formats, like the open textbook stacks, I think. Is that what it is? Yeah, textbooks. There's different formats, electronic version, PDF version, etc.
Yeah, and being in those formats doesn't automatically make them work well and things like that, especially if there's graphs or tables, and those are so much fun to hear just blurted out in a like NVDA or something. Blah blah blah. It's like, wait, what context am I listening to it here in?
Right.
But we have about a third of our students who come through who need that sort of screen reader or that auditory help, and trying to fix it for them can be highly entertaining.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's a really good question. Yeah, thanks for bringing that out. That is something that we need to research.
It's really helpful too, because even sighted people can listen to an audiobook while they're doing something else. And I know my spouse listens to her school books while she's driving. So,
Yeah, I did have a student this year ask me if we, did have that option for textbooks, like in the reserve room, if we could, or any textbook. I think she wanted to turn it into audio, and we unfortunately do not. But
we have our time, but we can find them sometimes. If not, we actually have tools over in DSS where we can take a book and put it into something like Kurzweil, where it will, do the reader function for the book, which is really kind of neat. It's actually becoming a lot more common too. You can actually find readers for your, there's Audible, of course, for popular books, but you can put almost any PDF into it. It just doesn't always read it right. So it's always a handy thing.
Yeah.
And Jeff, thanks for bringing this all up. This is like a great opportunity for Front Range Community College to really do something with OER and DSS and really push it out there, and to let our students and faculty know, hey, we have these resources that are available, and even check this out. So thank you. This gives us a lot to collaborate on in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
And,
it would be exciting to be able to, have math be accessible. Math jacks or things like that would be kind of fun to implement.
And Jane had a question really quick before I forget. It says, I forgot to ask, Marnie told me that I could copy pages of my current text and scan them into my shell. Is that true?
If it's copyrighted,
it is.
Okay, it is.
It's the text. I just was talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like how many pages?
Well, there might be, I'll have to talk further with you, Shay, but there might be more, there might be a resource that goes through it, but maybe it's a couple theories or some observation forms.
Okay. And I'm going to make some notes of this too for when we do chat, so I can look on my own and have some definite answers for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, usually it can't be more than 10% of the textbook to be under fair use. So you should be able to do that if it's not that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that would be, because it actually puts them in the appendix, some of the observation forms. So does that mean that it appears they are, and I actually know the authors, they are retired CU professors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's always, if you have access to the authors, that's always the best way to get permission.
Permission. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you couldn't get a hold of the authors, then usually the rule is 10%. It has to be less than 10%.
Okay.
For fair use.
Yeah, it's fair use is just so murky though. It's so hard to say. Like I don't know how people deal with it, but it drives me crazy because I want something concrete. Can I do this or can I not?
And the answer is usually it depends.
Yeah, it just depends on So I think if you had just like a little bit, probably, and I would say probably, not for sure. It's okay, but yeah.
Okay, that's
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 10% is a good rule of thumb. I can look at that too. And I can see if they respond. They're still involved in the community, so maybe they will. They're in this area. They're in the Denver area.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, I can check that out.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch, Shay.
Okay, sounds good, Jane.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Looks like that will include our OER in 30-ish, 47 minutes. Thank you so much for participating. We do greatly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for doing it. It was great to actually see a good breakdown of Creative Commons versus OER. That was actually informative.